We are now heading to the Falkland Islands, which is a British overseas territory located way down in the southwestern Atlantic Ocean near the tip of South America. And there we will be visiting Cape Pembroke Lighthouse. This trip involves flying in a military TriStar from RAF Bryce Norton all the way down to the Falklands, stopping en route at Ascension Island, which is about halfway, and we stop there just for a refuel. Ascension Island is an isolated volcanic island found south of the equator in the South Atlantic Ocean. It is about 1,000 miles or 1,600 kilometers from the coast of Africa and 1,400 miles or 2,300 kilometers from the coast of South America. It is governed as part of the British Overseas Territory of St. Helena, Ascension and Tristan da Cunha. The Falkland Islands are a remote South Atlantic archipelago. There's two main islands, and then you have hundreds of little islands and islets. The two main islands are West Falkland and East Falkland, and the capital Stanley can be found on East Falkland. My trip to the Falkland Islands was compliments of the Governor and the Government of the Falkland Islands themselves. I was looked after by a Rob Ijssel and Jane Cameron. Jane Cameron has since died in a tragic accident. Lovely lady.
Well, I started as first assistant keeper and second, and then got the PK, you see, as the fellows went out.
Okay. How many years were you a lighthouse keeper?
23.
So when did you join?
It's 4th of August 1956.
Was it all on Cape Pembroke?
Yes, yeah.
Can you describe the lighthouse at all?
Well, we had no engines when I went there. It was paraffin lamps, see? Or wick lamps. And I think it was in 62 when they built our new quarters, we got a light engine.
So up until you had the light engine, what was it like there?
Not very good. These silly little lamps. Not much light. No.
And the main light, what was that?
Paraffin.
Can you describe how you had to put it on every night?
You had to heat it. It was a mantle job. Vaporizer and a mantle. You had to heat it up with meth. Took about 15 minutes to heat it up. And then she was away with it. Wind her up every hour, I think it was.
What were the problems you had with it during the night? Was it a reliable light?
Sometimes you used to get dirt in the vaporizer, see? And it used to come up and of course block your paraffin off. You had to go and prick them out with a pricker. That sort of thing. Sometimes you'd flip right out on you. You'd have to light him up again then.
You didn't have to spend your whole watch up in the lens room, though, did you?
No, no. That was finished when I went there. That's what they had the stove for years ago, you see.
So they did do a watch up there originally then?
Oh yes, yes. And I think they used to sleep in the middle place there, where them cupboards were. Is that right?
It is. There is something on the drawing, indeed, that describes indeed having berths.
Oh, bunk rooms in the tower
Bunk rooms,
itself?
Yeah.
Right, so when you were a keeper there, where did you do your watches from? Was it a wandering watch, as it were?
Well, in the old living quarters, from the kitchen window. Just look straight up at them. But when we got the new quarters, I put 2 looking glasses out on the wall, you see. And we sat back at a table like that and just looked out. If you seen it dimming down where you nipped up.
I'm at the Lizard Lighthouse in Cornwall. We got a mirror set up, so we can watch our one. So it must be something all keepers do. Right, what was your sort of daily routine when you're on the lighthouse?
Well, you came on duty, say, at 5 o'clock in the morning, and you were on all day. You had to cook the breakfast, the dinner, and the supper. Clean the place up, you see. And then your mate come on, you went to bed till midnight. And then you got up at midnight and done till 5, and then you come on for the day about, see.
So you had like a duty cook? You took turns in cooking?
Yes, day about.
How many keepers were there?
3.
Were they all good cooks, or is that
That
debatable?
wasn't much.
One was better than the other.
So some days you had some lousy meals and some days you had some...
Oh no, we got on pretty good, yes.
What sort of meals did you have down there?
Usually roast meat, stewed meat, spuds, cabbage. We had a little garden down there of our own, you see.
And was it
veg.
was it easy to grow down there?
Yes. Yes.
But being in such a wild place, all that work you could put in your garden, one storm could kill it, couldn't it?
Didn't seem to, no. One chap had his garden down in the point. I had mine over towards Christina Bay.
That was indeed the thing that I was in the beginning amazed, because I never got any trace directly around the lighthouse of any garden, but of course you grew your things somewhere else.
Yeah.
So you had a garden each?
Yes, yes.
Getting back to when you first joined down here, you said it was like paraffin lamps. So
Yeah.
obviously you didn't have electricity down there then, did you?
No.
So what did you do fridge-wise and stuff like that for food?
We didn't have a fridge.
So how did you keep it all?
We got our grub down every Saturday. The chap, Bus Aldridge, used to fetch it down. Your meat and bread, your cakes.
Who were the keepers that were down there with you?
Well, when I went there, the head fellow was Fred Benson, and the second chap was Joe Curran. Joe Curran went away, that's right, and I got his job, and they got another man down by the name of Matthew Macmillan. And then Freddie Benson, he died down there.
Well, actually at the lighthouse?
Yes, up in the tower.
Cool.
And I was the one that got his job. See, and then the Matthew Macmillan, he got sick and he had to go away. That's when Freddie Butler came. And Billy Cletheroe, and that's all I can remember, I think. Oh, Eric Smith down here, he was another one, yes.
So you're down there with 2 other men. What's it like for getting on with each other?
We got on all right, because we didn't see much of one another.
That takes a lot of forwards.
Only meal times, more or less.
Good.
Watch work, see?
Right.
Did you ever do any fishing to sort of pop up your meals, as it were?
Yes, I used to fish them little rock hard out up the north coast with. Only little fellas, it wasn't too bad.
Now the tower's cast iron.
Yeah.
When you're up in the top in so-called winter times or in bad weather,
Yeah.
was it very cold?
Yes. Sometimes when you go on walking up the tower hanging onto the rail, he'd stick to you. Yes, he would.
What was the routines you had to do for cleaning in the morning? Once you put the light out, what was the first thing you had to do?
Sweep the stairs down.
Yeah.
And then get your breakfast ready, see? Call your mate out at 9 o'clock for breakfast.
Oh, that was really civilized. 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
Go to bed.
Yes, yes. We had to clean the brass once a week, I think it was, up top. It was usually on a Friday. You had your brass to do, I had mine, and there you go. Then ventilators. Yeah, that's right.
Somebody was saying you actually had livestock down there as well?
Yes, we had cows, milk cows, our own milk and cream. And in the finished beef.
In the quarters, did you have your own private room?
Yes, yeah.
And was that shared with anybody else when you weren't there or anything? Or was that totally yours?
No, there was 3 bedrooms
Yeah.
and 3 keepers, you see. 2 keepers there all the time and 1 in Stanley. When you went back to your own room.
Right, I take it there's no fresh water down there. So where do you get your water from?
Off the roof.
Yeah? So you caught water?
Yeah.
And where was it stored?
In tanks.
Under the ground?
Yes, that's right, in the finish. There's one of the tanks out there. Yes. After we've got a good blow from the southern, it used to turn the tea dark because it had a lot of salt in it, see?
Yeah. From the spray.
Right.
Yeah, I can imagine.
You didn't have a system of filters then to get rid of all this muck off the roof first?
No.
Right, stores. Did the ship come to store the place up? You know, like coal and whatever? I don't know what sort of stores you would have delivered down there for the lighthouse. I suppose paraffin for a start for the lamp.
Yes, the boat used to take the paraffin down, the penwing. And then they got lorries taking it down, 40-gallon drums, see? And when I went there, it was coal stoves. And the lorries used to take these little blocks of coal down for us.
So that must have been the hardest work, was it, unloading all this lot? Apart from all the polishing. Wildlife-wise down there, was there much?
No.
So it all passed you by down there?
Very seldom got a duck or a goose.
That's probably why there wasn't any wildlife down there. You'd eaten it all. Storms down there, because it's quite a peninsula, isn't it? So You must get some violent storms.
Oh, winter time, you can get a bit of snow and
Yeah.
gale of wind for a few hours.
Yeah, I've noticed that the nice thing down here, the wind, when it does blow, it doesn't take too long before it's gone.
Yeah.
It must be violent down there. Do they, the tower, it's sort of cast iron, that feels solid enough, but does it move in the wind?
Yes, you up top you just feel them quiver some nights. Just a little quiver.
That landing, there still remains of a landing down there. You know, just the concrete pillars or whatever. Was that in use when you were there? The landing?
No, they'd done away with that then. They'd started with a lorry taking the fuel down, see? But I helped to pull that staging down.
Yeah.
And that derrick.
So did the derrick actually land just stores or men as well that way?
Just the stores.
Yeah.
Because they used to ride horses down there one time.
Yeah. Toilet facilities on a lighthouse down there in the olden days. What would you have had down there?
Just an old bucket.
Yeah.
And a board on top with a hole in it.
Oh.
Well, when he got full up, you went and dug a hole in the sand.
But showers or a bath?
A bath, yes.
There was a bath?
Oh yes, bath and a little wash basin there.
Oh, all right.
Little stove for heating the waters for it, you see.
And was that water caught off the roof for bathing as well?
Yeah. Sometimes if we got dry weather, we had to get it carted from Stanley, you see. We used to cart it down in 40-gallon, 400-gallon tanks.
Were you there still when this conflict with the Argentinians happened, or?
No, I was away then.
The head keeper was Basil Big, and the other one was Red Sylvie. He was.
Were you there with Uncle Fred?
Yeah, Uncle Fred was down there with us too now and again. Yeah, because when one used to go off, there used to be always two down there. So when there'd be one left, so they used to get old Fred as a relief keeper then go down with us. But there was always two of us at the light at the one time down there. But one was on duty, the other one would be sleeping. We'd go on duty when they got dark, and we'd stay. The person would stay until midnight. Then the next person would take over. The daylight came in. That's how we kept it up all summer and winter. One person on, one person off, and the changeover was at midnight each night.
Were you allowed to take someone's shift over? Say, for instance, someone like to had something important to do for a wedding, or
I used to get somebody else from Stanley to go down to do that.
I see.
It was compulsory for two people to be there.
So it was compulsory for two to be there at all times. But I still can't see how they manhandled all that lighthouse up off the beach.
Yeah.
But they had some sort of jib or something there to do it with.
There is indeed.
Because there's that piece out there on the beach, ain't there, where they used to have it sitting on.
Yeah.
But by God, that must have been.
But that was only to get it from out of the dinghy on the shore.
Yeah.
But then, how they erected it, how do you have a steel plate? And I made a calculation on it once, but they weigh more than a ton.
Oh yes,
one of these plates.
They made a damn good weight, right?
And how they managed to get it on top of the other one, bolt it, and then carry on further is for me a complete mystery how they did it.
Because we didn't have any electrical equipment in them days for lifting things like that, did we?
No.
They must have, I don't know, power buckled it or something with it big, something like that.
Some very clever engineering.
Oh yes, there was some very clever engineering, must have been, to get up there, because out on the balcony there is 70 feet, ain't it?
absolutely. Yeah.
And then you've got all that
Right.
piece on the top again.
Then they have
yeah.
to make the rest on top of it,
Yes.
and then they had to place the dome on top of it. And actually, it must have been all done by manhandling, or well, you never know, of course.
And block and tackle somehow.
History, of course. I mean,
But they had to get things to reach that high to get it up there first, didn't they?
perhaps they made a crane. You'll never know.
Well, they might have done something like that, perhaps somehow. I don't know. It would have been good to see some photographs of that being done.
There must
I
be some in
expect-
Stanley somewhere.
Well, I expect when the old town hall burnt down, I should imagine it all got lost there
Oh yeah.
in the old museum
course.
town hall.
Yeah.
Because I said there
Yeah.
used to be things there way back, years and years.
That was 1960, eh?
And that just burnt,
That
burnt
fire,
to the ground.
the town hall fire, 1960 something.
Oh, I thought it was before 60.
Yeah, was it? Yeah.
I know, I can remember something about it, and I was only very small. And
Right.
Now the main light was an oil light.
that was the main one for the, that used to turn.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was paraffin driven. Same as a Tilly lamp. The mantle and all on the top
Yeah.
was the same vaporizer. It's all done the same principle.
Now what about your quarters? What lighting did you have in there?
Electric light. Because the generator we had outside, see, in another little shed, well, for 1 3/4. Yeah, 1 3/4 kilowatt generator we had there. And that used to be more or less going all night, see. Was never switched off no time.
Do you remember the make of the engine at all?
Lister. Yeah, little Lister. Lister diesel. 1 3/4 kilowatt job it was there.
It used to pump the water as well, didn't it?
Yeah, we had electric pump there as well for the pump water. Yeah. And the
Water was
fuel-
taken down, fresh water was taken down of the houses.
If you
And that's
notice,
the main place you
when
go
you've
in.
been down there, there's a big concrete slab, and there's two little metal doors, not far apart from one another.
On top.
Well, that's where the water used to go in. I don't think you can get them doors lifted now. I guess seized up that once, but that's where the water was always put in there first, and then we just used to pump it from there then. The little electric pump, because there was no other way of getting water there.
Yeah.
And the fuel for the generator and the fuel for the lamp there, we had to pump by hand. 40-gallon drums we used to pump.
We used to pump the paraffin from here up to the top of the town.
What was it? Rotary pumped?
Rotary pump, yes.
And how much did you have to pump up?
Oh, must have been about 10 gallons, 20 gallons for each tank or something.
Yeah. How many tanks up there?
Two tanks up there.
So how often was that job done?
I don't really, used to last quite a while, yeah.
Okay. What else would have been in this room?
Oh, just odds and ends kept in this room. Some spare glass for the top of the tower up there.
Yeah. And what was this about not wearing shoes?
Pardon?
What was this about not wearing any shoes?
Oh, there was visitors that came, used to have to take their boots off, shoes off.
Did you get many visitors?
Quite a lot, yes.
Yeah.
Quite a lot.
Right. This construction of this tower, this is cast iron.
That's right, yes.
And this was made in England?
Yes, yes.
So everything, including the lighthouse, was shipped out from England?
That's right, yes. light for the top there.
Uh,
Few other things formed to the light.
Right, this light above us, was it paraffin vapour?
Paraffin, yeah.
So you're talking about a mantle and all the rest of the stuff?
Yes, a mantle and vaporizers and so forth.
Right, this famous vaporizer, was that hard work cleaning it?
Yes, you used to have to clean them every morning. Well, it was very much like a tilly lamp, only on a bigger scale.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what else would have been in this room? I can see on the shaft above us here, you got a bell.
Yes, well that was the bell that when the weights went to the bottom it rang.
So how often?
But we never used to let it go to the bottom really.
So how often would you wind the thing up?
About every hour.
Okay.
It would go for an hour and 20 minutes. But we never used to let it go that long.
Can you tell us what this room is called?
This was called the service room.
Okay, and what did you do in here?
Well, this is where the paraffin was, tanks was, and the air tanks to supply the light.
Okay.
And we used to have to pump the air tanks up with this hand pump, which is a pretty tough thing. And when you changed the valve, it used to take you about 2 hours to get the air back again. Because you lost the air once you changed the valve.
Okay, can you take us through the procedure, roughly what you did?
Well, you changed the valve, say, and then put a new one in, and then you had a pump on here to get it up again.
Okay, so those two tanks over there.
These two is the paraffin ones, and the big ones are the air bottles.
Okay, so it's air underneath, paraffin on top.
That's right.
Okay,
And that's a paraffin tank there.
right. So the object was, first of all, down below you'd
Pump the paraffin up to fill your tank.
up here,
Yeah.
and then you have to do some sort of taps on.
Yes, it was all taps on here, so you turn to when you put your light on.
Okay, how many pumps roughly to get that going?
Oh, quite a lot. Quite a lot.
And this thing below us that we can't quite see in shot.
This
Yeah.
thing, once you turned that on, well, that started it revolving. Started the whole thing revolving.
Okay, and that's the clockwork motor that drove the lens round.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay, so how much of your watch did you actually do in this room?
Oh, you didn't have to do any in this room. If you if you had to do anything, it was up in the next room. Up with the light.
be up here when you put the light on?
Well, you put the light on and then you just had to watch it from down below after that. But sometimes the light could go out or catch fire or anything could happen to it. You had to keep an eye on it, you know.
Right, we're not talking your normal switch a light and a bulb comes on, are we?
No.
What sort of light are we talking about?
Well, it was very much after the style of a Tilly lamp, only on a bigger scale, you know. And also, sometimes the light would sort of dim, and you'd have to come up and prick them out the same as you would a primus lamp. You pricked them out, and then you had a wax thing you lit to, you know, light them and keep them going, light them again.
Now these, behind you we can see the seas romping in a bit today. What's it like in a real blow up here?
Well, when it's really rough, the sprays hit the rocks and comes right over the lighthouse.
Well, you've put your light in for the night. Then what do you do?
Well, you just have to watch them or do jobs, prepare grub for the next day and that sort of thing.
When exactly were you a keeper at this lighthouse?
Where was I?
When? What years?
Oh, I came here in 1971. And I went out just before 82, just before the Argies invaded.
But can you remember something about that night that the Argentines invaded the islands and you were
I
on
can
the
remember
lighthouse?
them coming in all right, yes.
Yeah?
Because I
was your
wanted
first
Basil
sight?
to ring Stanley and let them know. And he wouldn't do it.
Basil didn't want to...
Oh, we were sitting down there when the announcements came over. They said there was an important announcement. The government now would be naked. And we never got it. That important announcement there we never heard.
But it
But
didn't come over till 6 o'clock in the morning.
I said to Basil, because I had the glasses, I knew there was something wrong that night because before dark the Marines came down. The gang of Marines came down there and they were all around there. They had their guns, everything with them. And I thought there's something funny on, there's an exercise on or something, so I never said no more. But around about 11 o'clock at night they all started getting their bloody ammunition all stocked up for their guns, cleaning them and, you know, sorting them out and that there and getting everything ready, radio and everything, checked that out, everything. And then 12 o'clock I said, oh, you fellas can go and have a sleep now, we'll look after everything for you. Well, we knew nothing, but I guessed straight away that there was something wrong. So I gets up, must be about 4 o'clock, past 3 in the bloody morning. Next thing they were getting all panicking, scrambling, gathering all the bloody guns up, loading them up and everything here with live ammunition and that and gone. In a hurry, I said, hey, there's something wrong, ain't there? No, I said, we're on an exercise. That bit buggered. I said, there's something badly wrong. I said, and you're not telling us. And one fellow just looked at me and said, no, we're not allowed to say. I said, no, because the Argies is coming, ain't they? He just went out. And before daylight came in, I seen a bloody ship because I had glasses down there. See,
Right.
Old glasses, I suppose they'd be about that big, pre-war ones. And I was looking through them and I spotted something coming in from out at sea. Coming in. And then it sort of went up so far and I sort of lost it. The next thing it would go back out again. I said to Basil, I said, there's a bloody man of war out there. He said, let's have a look. No, I said, you're not bloody telling me there's a man of war there. He said, I can't see. He said, there's nothing there. He said, I can't see it. I said, look, my bloody eyes is better than your, Basil. I said, I bloody tell you, there's one there. I said, you get through and let them know and stand there. There's a man of war there. No, I said, there's not. The next thing I spot a bloody red light at the beach. I knew then what it was. Straight away it was a bloody Archie's landing. But I didn't know that they were around the town before that.
Right. But I mean, I understood you were ordered to switch off the light of the lighthouse by the governor.
Basil wouldn't let it out, wouldn't stop.
Oh.
He kept wanting to switch it on.
Oh.
We were told to put it out, see?
Right, because they didn't like to
The
help the
Marines said to us
Argentines.
to put the light out too. But no, Basil wanted it put on. Why? I'm bugged if I know why yet. But we wasn't there that many bloody hours here after they'd came in the next night here, and about, what, must be about 10:30, I suppose. Next thing we heard, bang, thump, in they come through the bloody door. About 7 of them. Want to know, is anybody else here? They said, anybody else here? We said, no, it's only us two that's here. They said, you sure? Well, we didn't know then that they were looking for the Marines, because there was a gang of Marines over on that side that went right out through them, way up to Long Island. We didn't know it then that that's what they were looking for.
And then you were sent home, more or less,
Yeah.
by the Marines. I
You
heard.
weren't sent home, I took you
He
home.
came and got me.
Oh yeah.
He came and got
He
me.
came out.
I
And
would like to have got out of it down there, but I couldn't have no bloody transport to get away.
See, the thing
So
is,
when
they
she
invaded
came
on a
down-
Friday. He came home on the Saturday to see what was happening. And they were told to go back down and stay there. And they went down and they got held up, as he probably told you, at the airport, and then taken down under armed guard. And he was supposed to call me on one of the radios looking in and got there safe. And he didn't. I didn't hear anything because there were no radios there to do it
They
with.
were gone.
I was nursing at the time, so when I came off duty at 3 o'clock on the Saturday, I got in a row and people said I wasn't to go down, I'd get stopped. Well, they had this thing about showing your white cards, you know. Well, we already had white cards. And I just drove right through all the roadblocks, just waved my card, it could have been anything. I went down to the lighthouse, picked up him and all his equipment, but Basil wouldn't come up. And I brought
that's
him
what
back
Betty
up.
told me. Bessel didn't
Well, the
dare
next
to go back
day,
anymore.
Red Sylvie and went down and got him up. And the next day after that, the police had to go down and bring him up. He wouldn't stay away.
Kept
That's
going
how he
back
come.
down.
And he was in a nervous wreck, actually. I was pretty nerve driving down there too on my
I
own.
can imagine.
But I was more worried of what would happen to him because nobody knew. I mean, they could have all been shot for
I
all we
didn't
knew.
have bad blood pressure, but the old woman had blood pressure. In every bloody street she went around, standing there was a machine gun pointing at her.
Mm.
When she even had to go to hospital to
Well,
work.
I had to go to work, and they said, you know, the day of the work, I had to go to work actually at 3 o'clock that day. And they said to take something white with you. So I had a white scarf, and I had to walk from James Street to the hospital. In every corner I went around, there was a guy laying there with a gun at me. That was frightening.
But I was very surprised when I went that day, that big tank came down there, thought I had a bloody gang of Vargies again. And this bloody great Yankee mercenary stepped out of it. That surprised me, that did. And he came in there, and he pulled a chair up between me and Basil, sat down and put a hand on each one's shoulder. He said, we're not here to harm you. He said, we're here to protect you. I said, well, you can protect your bloody self and get back where you belong. I said, we don't want you. He sat there talking away. I'd drink a tea and that as if nothing happened. And then came back uptown. But there was a bloody gang there that night around the place. They surrounded it. Basil sensed that they were there. I never seen anybody. But Basil reckoned they were around outside all that night. There was a gang around there. To make sure there was only 2 of us there, there was nobody else, because they still thought the Marines was there.
Right.
I think it was lucky there weren't any accidents.
But I know one thing, if the military leaves here now, they'll be in like a shot. I'm sure of it. They'll be back again.
My name's Reginald Sylvie.
And you were a keeper at the Falklands?
Yes, about 3 years, starting 1979, and it was terminated by the conflict in '82.
Right, the lighthouse itself, what can you remember about it? description-wise?
65 feet of gleaming stairway, which we clean every day. It was very windswept with gaps in the structure howled through the corridors. The living quarters were quite modern. They were a normal bedroom with lockers, sideboards, beds. They were quite comfortable, really.
So did you have your own separate quarters?
Yes. Each one on watch had his own bedroom, and there was one bedroom for relief keeper, and that was rotated, of course.
So there was a relief keeper in town, was it?
If someone had a holiday or was ill or had to go away, they would use that room. Yeah.
How many keepers were down there?
3. At any one time there were 3 employed.
Right, what else was down there? You had an engine room, I take it?
Yeah, engine room and 2 diesels, which we ran all night, of course, but it was off during the day. We had an underground water tank which we pumped up with a small subsidiary pump run off the diesel, and that kept us going with water each day. So that was a daily job as well, to top up the fresh water tanks.
The water tank was under the ground?
That was underground, yeah.
So how was that topped up itself?
It was, I believe it was all caught rainwater. So it wasn't good, you couldn't drink it, not really, but it was okay for other, the domestic stuff.
The light at the top, that was driven by what?
That was a clockwork mechanism, which had to be wound up every half an hour, I think, wasn't it? Pretty regular trek up and down the stairs, anyway.
Yeah. So your watches were done from the crew's quarters, is it right?
Well, we had a galley, and we kept the crew's quarters shut off at night because of the noise of the diesels. So it was quite a bad thing if you opened the diesel room door at night. You get a boom 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 as you open the door. So we mainly stayed in the galley, or there was another little room close to the diesel room which was a tiny lounge, I suppose you could call it.
And somebody was telling me they had a mirror set up so you could watch the light?
Yes, yeah, that I suppose it worked, but your best bet was to have a physical look at the light to see if it was moving.
And the light at the top was, how was that powered? The light itself?
That was a pressurised oil, which burnt a flaming was it asbestos globe, is it?
Well, like a mantle.
A mantle,
yeah.
A mantle, which is an absolute disaster if it turned black. So that's why it was so important to keep everything moving.
So what was, when you were on duty at night, what were your main jobs then, up and down the tower?
Just keeping the light moving, keeping it running. There were no observations as such.
So what sort of problems could you have with the light during the night, an oil lamp?
Well, the worst thing is what we used to call a black, where the mantle would have to be replaced. The thing would just catch fire. So that was pretty disastrous, because you were in the dark and trying to fit a new mantle.
Did you have sort of gardens down there at all, down there?
Yeah, there was one alongside the lighthouse, one along the coast a bit, and one a fair trek away, which is one that I had. But the sand moving constantly, it was quite a battle to keep them going.
Well, when I was down there, I couldn't see any trace of any gardens at all.
No, they needed constant attention to keep the sand out. Yeah.
And what could you grow down there?
Vegetables.
Just anything?
Yeah. They grew quite well, actually.
Even with the wind?
Yeah, didn't seem to make any difference.
Did you have any trouble with visitors, with your gardens being so far from the lighthouse?
No. They were never touched. No. There were wild cats and hares there, which would get in, I suppose. The hares especially, they would get in. They were planked off, mostly, with bits of debris that had been washed up, probably. It's a totally different way of life. I don't know what it's like now, but when I was there were no such thing as locked doors or anything like that.
So what was the general way of life out there?
Very relaxed. With the turnaround of a couple of weeks on and then your time off at the light, a lot of my time off was spent about 30 miles away fishing at a fishing hut on the River Marlow.
So what was the existence actually like down there with just the keepers? Was it sort of a lazy lifestyle, or you had plenty to do? Or?
Well, we had plenty to do in a sense of keeping the light going and keeping the place clean. We had a fairly rigid cleaning routine, and it was noticed if you hadn't done it. The brass cleaning was a bit of a nightmare if it was blowing hard up the top. But yeah, it was a relaxed, quite isolated experience, I suppose. But then all lighthouses are, aren't they?
What were the keepers you were on down there with? Can you remember their names?
I remember George Lyes, Charlie Mackenzie and Fred Butler, of course, and there was one other who I know has died, and I can't recall his name, I'm afraid. He was the head keeper, as well, so...
I'm trying to think of that as well.
He retired.
Biggs?
Biggs, yeah. His name was Biggs, I can't recall his other name.
No.
Yeah. But he's died, I believe, yeah.
So who was your PK when you were down there? Was that George Lyes?
George Lyes was. I became second. And then George was going to retire and I was going to be the top man, and the war got in the way, of course, and then it all fell through. But, yeah.
So what was it like during that so-called conflict that everybody over here tries not to call a war?
Pretty horrific would be the best way to describe that. A way of life ended in a matter of hours. It will never come back, I don't know. And I think they will want it still. Well, they still do. Some of my friends were killed, actually, of the civilians, yeah, by British shells. they were shelling the far end of town, some points there, and I believe they call it an under. One shell fell short and blew a house to pieces.
Mm.
And that was an old friend of mine who put me up often. She was 82, yeah. So that wasn't very good. Another one was killed in the hospital fire. They don't know how it started, but she was a nurse, she died. Yeah, there's a lot of bad memories. And of course it was extremely dangerous for the few civilians who were there. They weren't joking when they said that they were going to shoot everybody at one of the stations. The first one the British took, I can't recall its name. The biggest station outside Stanley. It's gone anyway.
Mm. You weren't actually down at the lighthouse at the time, though, were you?
No, I wasn't on duty, but we went down to get Mr. Biggs out. We managed to convince one of the Argentine officers that we needed to go to the lighthouse, and he gave us a little pass, which got us through their patrols. And we were there about 5 minutes, I suppose, grabbing bits and pieces, and we were apprehended by a patrol as we were leaving, which was extremely hairy. But for some reason, they just let us go, so we got back to town. And we went again once more to try and get some bits out. But by then, they'd been in there. My room had been broken open. I don't recall what, if anything, was taken, but certainly I lost all my belongings, either to the Argentines or to the British troops, unfortunately. So that was that, I'm afraid.
Was the lighthouse all shot up when you left, or was it all alright?
They used the buildings at the bottom. As far as I know, I was never allowed down to it again because the British Army said it had been booby-trapped, which I don't believe for a moment, but there you go. They damaged the bottom pretty badly. It was obviously strewn with mud and whatnot, so yeah, it was pretty badly damaged. That was the last I heard of it, actually, that the British had declared it an unsafe area.
What was it like when the British actually got the Argentinians off?
Well,
were you down there then?
Yes, I left a few months after the surrender. Well, the whole place was a mess. The government buildings were completely messed up with mud and whatnot, where they just walked in and out and not. Yeah, the whole town was a mess.
Yeah, I went down a few months ago, and apart from the odd minefield here and there on the outskirts that is still sealed off, you wouldn't have known there was a war.
No, probably not.
But out about in what you call the campus, or what I call the countryside, there's still bits strewn everywhere that just left.
Yeah.
Sort of probably as reminders. You got army boots and things just strewn about.
I recall a heap of weapons, and it must have been a minimum of 20 feet high. If you can imagine how many guns that is. And they dumped all those into the Atlantic, along with millions and millions of rounds of ammunition.
Would you go back?
I'd like to visit it, yeah. Not the lighthouse, but I'd like to. I don't think I want to see the lighthouse, actually. 'Cause my last memory of that is I was being flown out on a, what they call them, Green Giant helicopter.
Oh, Jolly Green Giant.
And my last sight of the Falklands was the light,
Yeah.
which was rather sad.
You probably wouldn't notice much wrong with it from the outside. The inside's painted as well. It's just that all the little things.
All the buildings are gone.
Yeah, there's nothing there. It's just the tower. So what was your house has vanished?
I cut an area near the light. I planned on putting a little cabin there, facing out to sea. I expect that that's gone as well.
What's the one thing, if you could think of anything, that you missed the most about the Falklands and the lighthouse, or just the Falklands?
I imagine standing outside the fishing hut at night, looking at the river in the moonlight. Yeah. Magic.